Australia and community action against homophobia for organising today's rally. It is incredibly important that you are all out here on this glorious afternoon and make your voices and presence felt in the city of Newcastle. So, as Deb said, I'm Sharon Claydon. I'm the Labor candidate for Newcastle. I'm a strong supporter of Australians' right to marry the person they love. It is time. Prime Minister Kevin Rudd has recently announced that after the election he'll put forward legislation within the first 100 days of the new parliament to bring about marriage equality. Kevin Rudd is now the first Australian Prime Minister in our history to support marriage equality. It is long overdue. He knows it, you know it, and I know it. And it's a shame, it is genuinely a shame there are no Liberal candidates here today. There are, I'm sure that they're all invited, but not one from the region has actually stood up and in support of marriage equality. So you need to keep that in mind on September 7, I suggest. We know Tony Abbott thinks marriage equality is fashion of the moment, and I'd suggest that is a comment from his notorious suppository of wisdom now. But this is an election issue. It's an issue that affects everyone's lives, and it's an issue that I take incredibly seriously. I just want to end with a bit of an update of what is going on right now. I mean, most of you will know Federal Labor has already removed discrimination from 85 federal Commonwealth laws against same-sex marriages, or same-sex couples rather. But at the beginning of August there was some new legislation passed in Parliament as well that protects against discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity and intersex status. So these new laws mean that you will be able to go to the Australian Human Rights Commission, and if you're not satisfied with the response you get there, you will be able to go through the federal courts to ensure that those protections are enforced. On marriage, we will get there. It is a matter of time, I have no doubt, but we need progressive candidates and members of Parliament to take this issue forward. So it's an issue that's not going to die down, and it's a human rights issue, one that I fully support, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this rally today. Thank you, Sharon.
We're so lucky in Newcastle to have so many amazing candidates at the upcoming election, and so many of them here in support of marriage equality. I'd like to welcome to the microphone Zane Alcorn, who's the candidate for the Socialist Alliance Party from Newcastle. Zane, welcome.
Thanks, Eve. I'd just like to acknowledge that we're here on the country of the Pambalong clan of the Alcorn Nation. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land, and sovereignty was never ceded. Thanks to Aaron and Equal Marriage Newcastle and to everyone else who's been involved in making this campaign grow and grow in Newcastle. It's really good to see such a staunch crowd here today, so good on you. The Socialist Alliance, which is a party I'm a member of, has been campaigning for equal marriage to be legislated ever since John Howard placed a ban on equal marriage back in 2004. So it's a campaign we've been involved in for a long time, and we really support it. And it's great to see that public opinion has really shifted, and a lot of these arcane old homophobic ideas are dying out. So it's fantastic to see. You're the voice of the majority here today. I saw Paul and Trent, Groom and Groom, in the paper the other day, and one of them, I'm not sure if it was Paul or Trent, said, "We don't have horns." And I think that's a very good point. And it's a point that's shared by the Archbishop from I think he's from South Africa, Desmond Tutu, who recently came out and said, "Well, if God's homophobic, I'll see you all in hell." I think it's a pretty ridiculous notion, this idea that God doesn't like gay and lesbian people, and I think that's really the issue that this is about. It's about confronting homophobia in the community, and there's really high rates of self-harm and suicide in the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, intersex and queer community. And the Equal Marriage campaign is about saying we're all people, we're all equal, the love we share is equal, and it's just outdated and wrong to be demonising the LGBTIQ community. End the discrimination. You're not second-class citizens. Your love is not second-class love. And I think it's sort of this second-class citizen idea is common not just to the queer community. It's something that 6 years ago, going into the federal election, John Howard was demonising Aboriginal people. At this election, we're seeing the demonising of refugees, and it should be mentioned that a significant number of refugees are lesbian, gay, bisexual people who are oppressed in their home countries and who are fleeing oppression. And sending them to PNG is not really a good solution because, from what I understand, Papua New Guinea is not a very accepting place of the queer community. And this struggle is also shared with the heroic woman Chelsea Manning, who's heroically exposed war crimes and has come out and said, I'm actually a woman, and I'd like to be referred to as Chelsea now. And I think that the struggle represented here today is also the struggle for people like Chelsea when they come out and say, yep, I'm actually a woman. People need to just respect that and move on, and not have this thing like you see in the mainstream media where people are still referring to Chelsea as Bradley and as a man and all this nonsense. So, yeah, it's really good to see. I'd say this is definitely the biggest equal marriage rally here that we've had in Newcastle yet. Keep campaigning until these laws are passed, and long live the Rainbow Revolution. Love is love. Love is equal.
Thanks, Zane. One of the things I love about all of the people gathered here today is as our amazing multicast and multi-talented. And I love the way with Zane you can see he holds the mic like a rapper. Equal rights for superannuation. We do have equal rights, as Sharon was saying. The current government has brought in a whole lot of legislation that does guarantee equal rights. Equal rights under the law is not the same as community acceptance. And equal rights is a really important part of the struggle for all of these other things. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's our major symbol of family, it's our major symbol of commitment, it's our major symbol of love. It's something that only some people have access to. Then we're not going to change community attitudes around rostering and getting the shifts off at Christmas and Easter and the important family holidays if your family is not the happy nuclear white picket fence family. We're not going to get the day-to-day ordinariness that straight people get. There's a whole lot of things that people in non-straight couples and non-straight families don't get to take for granted, that straight people just don't have to think about. And that's what we want. We want life to just be straightforward and easy for everybody, not just for straight people. Straightforward for all of us. Okay, I'd like to welcome to the microphone now the Greens candidate for Shortland, Jane Oakley, who'd also like to address you. Give Jane a great big welcome. It's the first marriage equality. Great big welcome! My first attempt at speaking it around the world. So thank you very much for the invite. I was really honoured to be asked to come and speak here today. In our house at the moment, the CD that's on high repeat is Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and we crank it up pretty loud, and my three young boys belt out Same Love with Gusto. And then we stop and we talk about the lyrics of what the song means, and how sad it is that Macklemore's uncles can't get married just because they're gay in Australia. And last night we were driving home and my 7-year-old, after we listened to the song again, said, it's okay to be gay. Now, as a parent, I was really proud to hear that coming out of my child's mouth. But I thought how profound it is that a 7-year-old child can understand something that's so many people's heart, and that is that this is an issue about fairness, about equality. It's hard to believe that we need to have a rally calling for equal rights, for full access to the law on a legally recognised arrangement. It's incredible that we have to do this. Denying access to any legally recognised arrangement is discrimination. Doing that on the basis of who you love is disgraceful. Our political leaders are talking about allowing a conscience vote on marriage equality. But I would ask, how is discrimination a matter of conscience? We don't hear of a conscience vote on anti-discrimination in the workforce. We don't hear of a conscience vote on women's equality. It's a matter of principle, and it's a matter of applying human rights and giving everyone full access under the law to marry the person that they love. The Greens have been campaigning in support of the gay community for years. It was the Greens who overturned Tasmania's, reformed Tasmania's anti-gay laws, where it was you could be considered a criminal to be homosexual. The Greens have put up marriage equality bills in the past in federal parliament, and the old parties have voted these down. Mr Rudd is saying that he's going to put up another bill if he's re-elected, but I would ask why the government voted down the Greens bill in 2012 and why they haven't supported its reintroduction in 2013. Mr Abbott says that marriage equality is currently socially fashionable. Well, I'd say that it's really wonderful to be surrounded by so many fashionable people. And I would add that human rights and equality has always been fashionable. And you may not know this, but there's a federal election coming up. So I would urge you to contact your MPs and contact all the candidates and ask them where they stand on equality and marriage equality and human rights. And I would let them know that you'll be voting for marriage equality. So congratulations to a wonderful rally. Thank you so much for letting me speak to you today. It's great to see such a vibrant bunch of people having the courage to stand up for things that really matter. Thank you.
To the microphone now. You'll know Michelle from previous rallies. She's been a staunch, hard-working campaigner for the marriage equality issue, and she always has really, really important stories to tell us about why we need this thing. Not that anybody here needs to be convinced, but it's always beautiful to hear from Michelle. Thank you.
I'm Michelle Lansby. I started P-Flag up in Newcastle. I chair P-Flag, which is Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gay. I'm a straight Christian mum of 3 children, and I'm a very big part of the gay and lesbian community in Newcastle. I usually have a and I always will be, and I usually have a speech, and today I don't, because today I'm just going to tell a quick personal story. People need to be very careful about the words that they use, like the things that have been said lately by Tony Abbott and Joe Hockey. You know, they don't realise that these words are hurtful, and they're really hurtful to us parents, because, you know, all of you, everyone is someone's beautiful, precious child, you know. And I had a girl that I went to school with that actually said to me, as much as she loved me and my son, that he should not, and she used some derogatory language, which I won't, and I haven't even told my son this, but she said that, you know, he should not have the right to marry. And I am as tough as old, and I usually support parents, and I was really, really hurt that day. It hurt me really deeply. And I didn't argue with her. I just said to her, is that a religious issue that you have, knowing that she's an atheist? And she said no. She said, I don't want to talk about religion or politics with you. And I said, well, that's good, because it's a human rights issue and also a legal issue. And I said, I just want to let you know that there's nothing, not one single thing about my son or about anybody in the gay and lesbian community that is a deficit. And so I just want to urge people to really think about the words that they use, and obviously I'm getting emotional today, and I usually don't, but and we need to get this over the line, because all of our beautiful, precious children deserve the right to marry, and they deserve it now, and they do not deserve to have the discrimination that they've come up against, because it doesn't just hurt the gay and lesbian people and the GLBTIQ community. I've got to include everybody. It really hurts the parents, and I mean really hurtful, because all of our children are 100% beautiful and perfect, and there's no deficit about them, and they deserve marriage equality now.
Every social battle that we need into. Michael, thank you.
Thanks, Steph. That's a big ask. Thank you for organising this today, and thank you for making the weather as it is. I was actually half hoping that it would rain this morning, just so I can see a big rainbow over City Hall. I thought that would be appropriate. I'd like to acknowledge that we're here on Awabakal country, land of the Awabakal and the Worimi people. Acknowledge their more than 200 years of dispossession and ongoing connection with this land. The reason I'm in favour of marriage equality, it's not because my sister is gay and had to go to Hawaii to get married, and a marriage that is not recognised in this country. It's not because I think New Zealand is stealing all our tourism trade and that it's an economic argument why we should have marriage equality in this country. It's not because of that. It's because it's a basic human right that we should be removing discrimination of all kinds in our society. It's the sort of society I think everyone here wants. It's the sort of society that, as a leader in the City Hall there, or if I'm elected in 2 weeks' time to represent you in Canberra, a view that I would take to Canberra, that we need a more caring society, a society that doesn't matter what you do, that you're given the fair go to do it, that there aren't laws that discriminate against you. As many people have said, if you're a person, you should have equal rights as everyone else. Love is equal. I wanted to, last night I went down to Sydney to a forum that was organised by Australian Marriage Equality, and it was a conversation with Bob Brown and Alex Greenwich and Shirlene Robinson and Kate Fairman. And I wanted to share in particular 2 things with you that came out of that forum last night. I don't know if many of you know Alex Greenwich is an MP for Sydney. He's a very outwardly proud man, happy to wear the colours and to stand up in New South Wales Parliament for marriage equality. And he said something that I thought was rather profound, and I know there are quite a few people here who were also at the rally for refugee rights that finished in Wheeler Place just before this forum started. And Alex Greenwich said that he would find it difficult as a proud gay man to vote for a party that is happy to put refugees, many of them fleeing persecution because of their sexual orientation, into a country where homosexuality is illegal, which is PNG. And he said he would find it very difficult. He knows many good people in the Labor Party who stand up for marriage equality, and he would find it difficult to vote for the Labor Party because of what they're doing with refugees, pushing the PNG solution. I'd like to acknowledge that Sharon Claydon, who is the Labor candidate for Newcastle, has consistently stood up for marriage equality and consistently stood up for removing discrimination. And in saying that, I'd like to lead into the second little anecdote from last night, and that was actually from Bob Brown. And many of you know Bob Brown has consistently stood up for removing all forms of discrimination in this world and creating a more caring society, and he's been a personal inspiration for me. But what he said was that in the new parliament, we need as many representatives from across the country who will stand up for marriage equality. Now, whether that's Labor or Liberal or Green or Independent, whatever, everyone needs to make sure that the people that they're voting for in 2 weeks' time are people that would stand up for the rights that you want, so for marriage equality. And so he said to everyone, and it was a packed forum last night, he said to everyone there that you should go home and ring every single candidate for this election and ask them where they stand for marriage equality. Because you should let everyone, all of your friends know where the candidates stand to make sure that you get a representative, in this case in Newcastle, but across the country, who stands up for marriage equality. But he also said that if you look at what the polls are saying, and the polls are looking pretty dreadful at the moment, they're saying that when we wake up on the 8th of September, we may well have an Abbott government. And that's a pretty horrific outcome. But what Bob Brown said, in that case, you really need to double your efforts to make sure that in the Senate, you have a progressive Senate. A Senate that, no matter what Tony Abbott will try and do to take away people's rights, that there's a Senate there that can stop it. And he said in New South Wales, the only way to do that is to make sure that you vote Green in the Senate, to make sure that Kate Salmon gets elected. Because it'll be between Kate Salmon and Pauline Hanson or the Shooters Party or one of those other parties. So it's so important that Kate Salmon and the Greens gets elected in the Senate to work with the other senators who are progressive and who are standing up for marriage equality. So with those two little anecdotes from the Australian Marriage Equality Forum from last night, I'd like to finish. So vote Green in the Senate. Even, I think you should vote Green in the lower house in Newcastle. That's a self-interested little plug there. But in any case, you must vote Green in the Senate in New South Wales in order to ensure that marriage equality happens in this country. Thank you.
Of the organisation. He brings a very, very, very special brand of pragmatism and magic to these events, and I think we're really lucky to have him here in Newcastle. Another cheer for Aaron Hargrave, please. Which is not recognised in this country. However, on Monday the 19th of August, in New Zealand, they were declared groom and groom. Come and tell us your story. Paul?
Hi everybody.
Trent? What's it feel like to be married?
It's actually quite amazing. We've been wanting to do this for many years. We got together about 11 years ago. I'm sure you've all heard the story. But basically for the last 4 or 5 years, this has been a serious consideration for us. New Zealand went ahead and allowed marriage equality to go through their parliament. We were we never lucky enough to see this competition, and we were fortunate enough to win. The main thing is that we feel like we have our relationship together has been recognised officially. It's hard to explain. I know everyone here knows it, but I think the wider community doesn't know the feeling of having someone nice to you for so long. And to actually have that flipped around and been shown that the government in New Zealand was behind it all the way, and that they believed in what we were doing and they believe in equality. And it really hit home to me, myself and Paul, how important it was that we actually took that step. And I just feel an immense sense of pride that Paul and I are together officially, and we have the rest of our lives together. So it's an amazing feeling.
Congratulations. Paul, what's it like for you?
I come from a Catholic upbringing, so for me, marriage is what you do. You find someone you love and you commit yourself to that person for the rest of your life. So it's a question I've been asked a lot is why it's important. And I think for me it's a validation that I am equal. I think a lot of us growing up feel a bit of abnormality. We feel we're different. As has been mentioned by my previous speakers, second class. I don't believe I'm second class. And I think standing up there and having our relationship witnessed and validated, I'm equal. And so I look forward to the day I'm equal.
What does it feel like to be able to call Trent your husband?
I wake up to my husband. I think Trent's going to be very sick of it by now because I don't use his name anymore. It's just husband. Would you like some cornflakes, husband? You're on my side of the bed, you're just husband. Everything ends in husband at our house at the moment.
It's an incredibly powerful word. The first time I got married, die-hard feminist from way back, I couldn't say the H word because it was something that was a so it has incredible power. For example, you're a school teacher? School teacher. Okay. What kind of responses have you had from parents and kids? Because obviously there's been a lot of publicity.
For me, it's been a long time. I had a terrible time, I think, being vilified on a daily basis in my high school. So I had a very particular view of how people would react to me when they knew about my sexuality. So, I've been a teacher for 5 years now, and it isn't until now that I've been actually really open about it. I haven't been closeted as such. I've spoken about it when asked, but I've kept my private life very much removed from my classroom life. So I entered this with a fair bit of trepidation because I really didn't think we'd win. And we did, and then I had to face the reality of actually everyone knowing other parents already knew, but I was worried for our kids. But I am saying that from the day that it first was in the paper, I've had nothing but positive remarks. Parents have come up and given me hugs and congratulated me, and one of my Wednesday best wishes threatened to fall. Kids have been very interested in it, and it wasn't until we actually just came back that the children have been coming up and congratulating me on a constant basis. I've been swarmed by children, swarmed by parents, giving their best wishes. So what I've come out of this moment now is that the world has changed quite a lot. My brain had not quite caught up with the world. So it was really refreshing to see that my community is proud of what we've done, and there is nothing but positive support there behind us, which is really beautiful.
That's fantastic. Beautiful. Just the newlyweds and just, I'm a bit of a romantic in spite of, the rest of it. I think we should join together and give Paul and Trent a round of for they are jolly good fellows. Just to wish them well. For they are jolly good fellows, for they are jolly good fellows, for they are jolly good fellows. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. For they are jolly good fellows. And so say all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's time for the march.